Shine Runners Racing Radio Show is dedicated to the fans, drivers, promoters, and most importantly, the families of local auto racing. Our mission and commitment is to help build the local tracks across the country.
Racing Radio back in the house again, man. I tell you what, looking up to be a great night tonight. I'm still prepared, but I'm gonna tell you what, Raging Rooster outside. And did you get a hold of that fried corn?
You know I did. I got 2 pieces, man. So it was. I hadn't had it in a while. It was good.
I had me some, and I'm just keeping the helmet on in case anybody else's tongue gets out of control and goes whipping around, because that's some good stuff, man. We're here with you this afternoon. AJ Hollywood Bellinger in the house. Got the crew set up, ready to rock and roll here tonight. What's going on, buddy? Racing Ryan coming off a birthday.
18.
Woo, big 18.
You should have seen his birthday present he had at the racetrack this week too. Got him a new 4-wheeler.
I'm glad I didn't have to walk all weekend.
Was that you taking videos? Because I've seen a sturdier hand at a kindergarten finger paint in that video you were shooting.
Hey, bud. I mean, I did what I did, and y'all don't like it. I just won't do it next time.
You want to see him over here right now, bud? He's shaking.
I was a little nervous about something.
He's talking like this right here. You know, you give him a microphone.
And Magic Man, glad to have you back, buddy. Really are.
It's good to be back.
You might want to turn your mic on.
I believe it is on.
Is it?
Yeah, it says right there. It says on right there. I don't know if it's working here, but.
I know yours.
The Boone City Sasquatch, man, y'all had a wonderful weekend the past weekend.
But it was awesome. The best thing I've seen in a while, man. The racing was top notch. WG and them boys had it just right.
I want to know how you feel after taking that picture with Jimmy Owens and giving him the one.
I still got a bad taste in my mouth.
Kyle in the house. What's up, buddy?
Same stuff, different day.
That's right. We're getting ready to file in tonight, man. We have got an awesome show this evening. AJ Keith Smith's in the house. He brought some of those photos.
Yep.
What a great, place of history.
Yeah, there's a lot of history sitting on that table over there, man, and just hearing some of the stories, and you guys talk about the things earlier before the show, man. I can't wait to get into it and talk with him about it. I'm sure he took some pictures of Dad out there too.
Oh yeah, definitely. And Marty Webb in the house too.
Absolutely.
Marty's been announcing, man. I mean, a long time. He's seen a lot of great action up in that box, and glad to have him on the show as well. As we'll be having Marty as soon as we come back from the commercials. Tonight's Mail Time, my favorite time. Mail Time, sponsored by Brown's Motorsports. So we're gonna be clicking in, seeing what's in the box, man. Looking forward to all that. You're starting to buff up a little. What is that?
Oh my God!
That's right. I've been going to the gym. Look, I'm
He's
breaking.
gotta get ready to go racing.
I'm breaking pins. I don't even know my own strength anymore. I can't even hold a pin.
You ain't got to worry about the racing part. That joker ain't ever gonna hit the racetrack. You hang that up.
Anyway, as we always do, ladies and gentlemen, we got our prayer coming up. Mom, how are you doing?
I'm fantastic.
That's wonderful
Excited
to hear.
for the weekend.
It is wonderful. And talking about wonderful news before we do our prayer, just want to say a big thank you to everybody who come out to Mr. Chris Stowe's and the Daniels family home for the Caroline Ackerman benefit race. $3,200 was raised at that race, man. And a good time. Really
Appreciate it,
was.
Chris. Thank you very much for having us.
As we do ask everybody, please keep Miss Caroline Ackerman in your prayers. As well, the Bishop family. A lot of you folks don't know Mr. Gerald Bishop. Gerald he had a lot to do with racing. And a lot of parts.
He created the JY.
A lot of parts come out of that junkyard, and our thoughts and prayers are going out to the Bishop family. And a big prayer tonight is an unspoken prayer request for our buddy Mr. Chad Sexton and Chad's family. Chad, just know that you're in our hearts, brother, and if there's anything that we can do, definitely let us know. We're there for you. Mama Slappy, prayer for Miss Slappy, and also a prayer for Mr. Curtis Edwards.
Yes.
as Curtis' ex-wife had passed away, you know, and sometimes, even though it's an ex-wife, it's still family and a loved one, so, you know, we just want to keep that family in our prayers.
Curtis and his daughter Jackie.
Mama, if you would, please.
That's key. Lord, we just ask you to be with us tonight. We ask you to hear every single prayer that has been spoken, especially the ones unspoken, Lord, because they come from the heart, and we know they're closer to you. Lord, we just ask your blessing of healing. Be with each and every person, Lord, for whatever reason that they need that touch. Just let them know that you love them and that you're there. Father, we come to you with such gratefulness in our hearts. We love you and we just give you so much praise for everything that you give us, for all that you do. Father, we ask you to bless each and every person that's here, each and every person that's listening tonight. Father, I just ask you to reach down and whatever the desires of their hearts, just touch them, Lord, be it finance, be it through healing, strength, courage. Father, you know the reason, and we just ask that to be done in your will. Lord, we ask you to bless the food that Raging Rooster has brought tonight. Father, I ask you to bless what he does and what he puts his hands upon. Lord, be with each of us tonight as we travel home. Keep us safe. Lead us through the journeys of life. Until we can meet again, Father, we just love you and we give you all the praise. In your name, amen.
Amen. And at this time, as always, in one of the greatest sports there is in the world, ladies and gentlemen, if you would please stand for the singing of our national anthem. Up here tonight back at the Steelman, and I am definitely looking forward to all the information we got coming up this evening. If you're on the post tonight, man, go ahead and share. Hit those like buttons. We like to see where each and every one of you are from. I see we got some folks from Massachusetts in the house tonight checking things out. We appreciate you guys and ladies, everybody who's watching this evening. AJ, what you say, man? We take her to a commercial. And when we come back from commercial, we're going to have Marty Webb up in the house. One of the things, before we go into commercial, though, Temple Mechanical, Raging Rooster Caterwin, yeah, A1 Bellinger, signs and A1 portable
Lord,
toilets.
mercy.
You want to read
Save
them?
me.
The food is getting to you.
Hey, your tongue is trying to beat the heck out of the side of your head.
I'm telling you.
That tongue's killing.
All right, so here's the thing. You guys are going to get a 2-for-1 tonight. Temple Mechanical, Raging Rooster Catering, A1 Portable Toilets, A1 Landscaping and Lot Clearing, Bellinger Signs and Graphics, Fast Tracks Mud Bog, C&M Pressure Washing. A huge thanks to everybody, and
Oh, I'm sorry.
Captain Rooster Flags, man.
Oh, yeah, Captain
You're
Rooster.
always supposed to remember
I'm sorry.
that.
I'm sorry. And Red Line Speed Shop.
Yeah. Take us out of here, Magic Man.
This is Matt Turberville, number 27 with Kegel Racing Engines, TCI Motorsports, and you're watching Shine Racing Radio.
Marty, if you want to come over here, buddy.
It's your job to put it in the winner circle, but it's ours to make your ride stand out above the rest. With full-colored wraps or die-cut designs, Bellinger Signs and Graphics is sure to put you in the eyes of the fans. That's not all. We do custom yard signs, storefront, and your everyday decal. Come see us today at Bellinger Signs and Graphics, 3392 Dunn Road, Eastover, North Carolina.
when you get
Miss
done.
Wendy Johnson says hello.
Yeah, just turn it back on.
Look at those parts to put you in the winner circle? Let Redline Speed Shop be your one stop for all performance needs.
Hello,
From straight
Daddy-o.
strip to left turns, they have it all. Tires, fuel, and safety equipment, and that's just the beginning. Come by today, 404 Hope Mills Road, and get your win on with Redline Speed Shop.
All right, back in the action. It's still tonight with the legendary Marty Webb. How you doing, buddy?
A legend at 25 cents get you a cup of coffee these days, maybe. Yeah.
Right, right. Well, we're super excited about you being here, bud. Man, a lot of years in motorsports you've been around.
Well, first off, it's a pleasure. I appreciate the invite to come out and be with you. And I got to find out from Bobby Jackson, is he changing his name to Quaidwin? Isn't that what?
Quaidwin? Yeah, that's a new
Reagan
word.
Rooster Quaidwin?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a new word.
Actually, I was hoping that, well, first off, Bobby's got some great stuff. I ate nice boneless wings. But I was hoping you were going to put me across over here, because I see Joseph Swan sitting over there, and he said that's going to be the chair I was going to sit in.
Yeah.
And I knew that it would be tested, weight tested, and I would be able to sit in it after he
Well,
did.
we don't know if he's going to show up or not, so we just go ahead and open that up. You know, he's usually a 2 or 3 minute guy. He'll show up. Sometimes he won't. So
Okay.
you can blame it on him tonight.
Sounds like when he goes to the go-kart track.
Yeah.
You were talking about Keith's photos that are over there, and when Keith comes up, you're going to be able to see some of those, and I'm sure Joseph has already gone over there and taken a look at them. Joseph, you can learn a lot off of that guy, so you need to talk to him before he leaves tonight. Not that you're not doing a good job, because your stuff looks pretty good
Great.
too. But
He does.
he
I
does-
tell you
he
what,
does a
very
good job.
have actually he's done a lot for Wyatt Racing and a lot of cool promotion stuff, and you know, very proud of what you've got going on with Gen 3, man. Really are. You know.
Yeah, and he's doing a lot of stuff for the guys, putting nice T-shirts and stuff out. One of these days, I'm gonna get him to make me a Marty Webb Legend announcer T-shirt, with a great big microphone in front of it and all that.
Right.
But he can do it. He's got all that neat stuff.
So how long have you been announcing?
Well, I actually started in radio in 1963. As a freshman in high school, I would go out to the local radio station, hang around with the disc jockeys, and they would let me, every now and then, they'd let me sit there and run the board, and so the microphone kind of got me in 63. Of course, my dad took me to racing when I was like, well, they didn't have Pampers back then, but I was in diapers at the Champion Speedway.
Heard a lot about
Anybody
it.
heard the Champion Speedway?
Steve Core tells us about
Right
it all
out
the
here on
time.
Highway 301. My dad took me out here when I was 6 years old. I'll go back and say it was 6. That was my first race. Probably put me in in what I would want to say, hey, look, I like this stuff and I want to be involved. So Dad would drag me down to the Dillon Speedway back in 63, 64, 65, whenever I was in high school, and we'd go to Dillon. And Dillon had a real nice little racetrack down there, dirt track, and I would always watch the announcer up there. And I said, I can do that. Well, went to work at a local station in Fayetteville, and how it happened was, it's kind of a long story, but I'll try to keep it short because I know got to get some commercial time in here and got to get Keith on. But the receptionist answered the phone one day at WFLB, which was in the Miracle Theater downtown, and I was on the air working noon to 3. And she says, she buzzed me on the intercom. She says, Marty, there's a guy on the phone here, says he's from XYZ Construction Company, and they built a new speedway out there off Doc Bennett Road. Said, this is on Thursday now. Said, they got everybody in place. They've got their scorekeepers. They got their flagman. They got the people to sell the tickets. And then remembered that they had to have an announcer. And he wants to know if there's anybody in the station that would be interested. And I took the phone call in 1968 and went to work at Cumberland International Speedway as their track announcer.
That's awesome.
And that pretty much started it all. I can't list the number of racetracks that I've held a microphone at. Probably one of my most memorable racetracks is going to be Bristol Speedway. I was called for the first Craftsman truck race whenever they ran there. They said it was going to be opposite of a NASCAR event. The Cup Series was running, the Busch Series was running, and they didn't have an announcer. So I got a call from Bristol to go do that race in 1995. That was probably one of the highlights of my career. But backing up to 1989, and if I get rambling on too much, guys,
No,
y'all
we're
stop
loving
me.
it. We're loving it.
I love a
We
microphone.
love this information.
But
Keep going.
backing up to 89, I had been courting MRN Radio. Every time I would see John McMullen at a racetrack, I'd say, here's my business card. Man, if you need somebody to turn announcing or whatever, give me a call. And he just kept bluffing me out. He probably threw the business card away. So I was at Darlington and I took my business card out and I wrote on the back of it, track announcer, Cumberland International Speedway, track announcer, Fayetteville Motor Speedway, track announcer at Wilson County Speedway, track announcer at Wake County Speedway, and I handed it to him and I said, here's my resume. So McMullen gave me a call. McMullen come and said, hey, we want to give you a shot, man. We're going to send you to Pocono, let you do some turns for us there. So another highlight of the career, Thomas Pope, who we all know and love, who does a fantastic job of writing about racing in this area. He wrote an article about me getting to go to Pocono, and he said Marty Webb has finally reached his zenith. And I didn't know what the heck zenith was, and then I had to call him, and he says, yeah, he says, man, he says, anytime you get to be your voice reaches zenith, that's the highest, that's the most expensive radio you can be on, is a Zenith radio. I said, okay, Thomas, but 4 races on MRN. I did turns at Pocono for the Cup Series. I did turns at Darlington, Richmond, and Rockingham. That was my 4 races on MRN, and then John McMullen sent me the Dear Marty letter.
Dear Marty?
Yeah. We appreciate what you've done. We're going to keep your resume on file, and if we need you, we'll give you a call. Mm-hmm. He just didn't realize good talent when he had it.
That's what I was thinking the same thing, because Marty, you are a one of a kind man, and I tell you what, it's always, I like to listen, and nothing against other announcers like myself, but I like to hear somebody who's clear, who you can understand. You know what I'm saying? And you've always, I've been out to Fayetteville Motor Speedway, and out there, you can understand what you're saying. And that really takes a lot to come across the microphone, because a lot of people don't know how to use it. Either they get shy from it, or they talking to it way back here, or they're all up on like this, right? And you can't understand anything. But you've always had that skill, the perfect level of it. And I'm not saying that just because you're sitting beside me. I'm saying that for real.
Well, you probably remember whenever I was doing track announcing over at Mickey Jackson's go-kart track, and you were running around in diapers.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But no, I appreciate those kind words, Robert. I've always enjoyed being around a microphone. Racing, like everybody in this room knows, racing can get into your blood, and it can get in really deep.
I've told him the most addicting drug in the world is clay. Red clay. Because if you ever get it in your vein, you'll never, ever get it back out.
Absolutely.
Ask the old man that's walking around here crippled right now when he tried to climb himself into that go-kart the other week. Now he can't walk.
We about all had to pry him back out of the go-kart.
Yeah, he was telling me out there a minute ago, he said, I'm hurting from the top to the bottom. And I said, well, what have you been doing? He said, I'm racing a go-kart again.
Yeah, but it was only 3 laps in.
But no, racing can get in your blood, and like you mentioned earlier, red clay will do it, and a lot of David Taylor's VP Racing fuel fumes will get you too.
Oh yes, sir, no doubt.
What would you say is one of the most exciting races that you've called throughout the years? I know you probably can't narrow it down to just one, but I mean maybe a top 5 or top 10.
I got to go back to a race that I remember very well at what was at that time Cumberland International Speedway. I was track announcer there from the very beginning, from '68 on. By the way, guys, if I had stayed with it for 2 more years, I would be celebrating my 50th anniversary behind a racetrack microphone. But I gave it up 2 years ago because I got 2 grandsons. We got us a place at White Lake, and I wanted to spend some time with them. But we had a crowd out there one Saturday night. And I don't know if anybody remembers the name Archie Adams and David Mullen. Anybody remember David Mullen from South Carolina? Archie Adams, also from down in Bennettsville. Super good guys. Anyway, we were running a modified race, had about 14 cars in the race. And Archie and David had been beating and banging on one another like you would not believe. I mean, it was constantly. And we had a guy from Bennettsville, South Carolina, was a flagman. His name was Tommy Tyndall. I always referred to him as T-Tom whenever we needed to talk to him on the radio. I said, hey, T-Tom, pick up the phone. And he picked up an old military bag phone, the kind that you had to like, yeah, what y'all need? But anyway, Tommy was flagging, had a guy that worked at Public Works Commission. I can't remember what his name was now, was the assistant flagman. David and Archie come off of 4, and David hit Archie so hard that the car went up on that concrete wall, as it is out there now. The old flag stand had 2 posts that went down into that concrete. That was the front supports. Archie came down off the track. They hit again. Archie came up off the track again, up on top of that concrete. And I was calling the action as quick as I could, crashing out of turn 4, coming Archie Adams, David Mullen, and then all of a sudden I saw the flag stand just fall forward.
Oh.
And Tommy Tyndall, and it was an asphalt track, Tommy Tyndall went down onto the racetrack and he hit his head so hard that it knocked him out. The assistant flagman saw it coming. He jumped over where the fence is and he held onto that. But and they were taking the white flag, and everybody had gone by the flag stand whenever the flag stand did fall down whenever it fell and Tommy was down. They were coming out of 4 to get the checkered flag where there was no checkered flag, but there was nobody to wave the checkered flag. So I don't know for what reason or another, and the guys used to say in the race car, they said when we would come by a speaker, we could hear our name.
Right.
So the only thing that came to my mind as I was calling the action is I just said, coming out of turn 4, drivers, stop! And I said the word stop just so, because if they had come back around, Tommy Lynn on the racetrack, he would have been run over.
Oh, yeah.
For some reason, somehow or another, the guys that were up front heard that on the PA system, drivers stop. Because Tommy never had a chance to turn the red lights on. He couldn't turn on yellow lights or nothing. Because when he went over on the racetrack, flagman was gone.
Tommy was out.
Tommy was out. That's probably the most exciting thing that ever happened to me as far as announcing and calling a race was out at Cumberland International Speedway. I'm going to say 70, 71, 2, 3, somewhere along in there.
See, I've never heard that story.
I was hoping you were going to say the most exciting thing was when you got to work with me, but anyway.
Well, this is the first time I've ever worked with you, so I couldn't say.
You're right.
Do you remember any of the lap times when it was asphalt?
Yeah, the modifieds were actually running out there kind of very similar to what the late model, super late model is running now, in the 17s, 18s, 17s. Occasionally you would see a high 16, but that was about what it was when it was asphalt. Between 16.5 and 17.0. They were running 17-second laps out there. Now you got to remember that the guys, those cars back then were not like the cars are now. These cars were stock cars. You go to the junkyard, you got a Camaro.
That's like we were just talking about Mr. Bishop.
Yeah, you knocked the glass out of it, you welded some roll bars in it, and you brought it to the racetrack, beefed up the suspension, and that's what it was.
Keith Smith's actually the Monte Carlo that Keith drove had like a Monte Carlo seat, and it wasn't even a racing seat. It was cream color. I remember. I was over at Uncle Carl's house. I remember it like yesterday.
Sure.
A regular seat, not a race car seat.
Yeah,
with the headrest thing on the back of it.
I'm sure he'll probably reflect on that when the price was right.
Yeah,
the price was right. Yeah, yeah.
But I got a story for you
right,
that you had no clue about, and I just want to tell you thank you because you are one of the reasons I met my wife. They had double scheduled us to announce one night at Belleville Motor Speedway.
Okay.
And I was coming upstairs and you said, what are you doing? I said, I'm here to announce. She's like, I'm here to announce. And I was like, well, they must have double scheduled us. You know, this is Mr. Larry, this is back when Larry Norris was running the track. I said, no problem. So I left and I ended up meeting my wife that night. So I appreciate that.
Well, I was glad to be able to do that. I'm just not responsible for any children, I hope.
Yeah, well, we're going to hold that one against you too. No, that was a great night down. We had a good night at Fayetteville that evening. Actually, it was the first time I met Bobby Jackson too. So all kinds of things happened because of you, Marty. Appreciate that.
Well,
you didn't even know that. You were like a matchmaker and the little dude with the arrows and stuff.
Well, hey, I have been known to shoot arrows in places I shouldn't have.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, are we taking a break? I got one more story.
We got a lady here that I keep seeing hearts and love you dads and woohoo, his first 2 grandsons and Miss Wendy Webb Johnson. Must be kin to you.
That is my number 1 child. That was the product of getting married right out of high school.
Right.
During the Vietnam conflict. I wasn't a conscientious objector. I served 6 years in the Army National Guard.
Thank you, sir.
But thank you. It was a pleasure. Non-combat Vietnam vet, didn't make it to Vietnam because we didn't have equipment that would get us there. But anyway, she's my daughter and the mother of my 2 wonderful grandsons.
Awesome.
I text her on the way. I said, hey, you got to tune into this Raging Rooster rock and roll racing radio show. Is that the way?
You hit the nail on the head.
And but anyway, let me reflect back to the old Fayetteville Speedway. Old Fayetteville Speedway. Some of you guys in here were not even born.
Nope.
Keith knows about it. It was where the Cumberland, is it Cumberland Gardens now or something like that?
Reese's.
Yeah,
Reese's.
yeah, right there on 301 where you turn to go down to Doc Bennett Road.
Right.
I was announcing out there for T.D. Welker, I think was the track promoter, and Pete Fan was the flagman. Pete was a notorious flagman, and Pete was probably the most, he promoted racing in this area probably better than anybody that you could ever think of. Pete was a phenomenal person, and he ran that racetrack for a lot of years, and then he and his wife decided to open up a seafood restaurant out on Highway 13, and it was Shirley Fan's restaurant. He started doing a lot of time with her out there. But T.D. Welker called me and asked me to come do some announcing for him, and I said, who's the flagman? He said, it's going to be Pete Fan. I said, oh, that's going to be good. So go out there. I think it was the second or third race, and you know how dirt track racing used to be back in the day. We raced a little while and we fight a little while. And Pete made a bad call on some driver. I forgot which one it was, but anyway, the car owner came up out of the pits and came up to the flag stand to talk to Pete about the call that he had made, put his driver to the rear. Now, Pete always kept a shovel right beside the flag stand, so in case anybody blowed a motor, Pete would go down there and he'd put some little dirt and stuff on it like that right there. Anyway, this car owner came up to, and he started yelling at Pete, and faces got redder, and words got louder, and Pete come off of the flag stand, and the only thing that I remember was the sound of that shovel when that car owner picked it up and hit it across Pete's back. It went, and boy, it was on then. The whole infield came out, and everybody, it was, I mean, you know, but that was a night to be reckoned with as well. Got one more story about the old Fayetteville Motor Speedway, and this was whenever Pat Purvis was the track promoter. Purvis Ford, Purvis Motors, whatever. Anyway, was out there, and this guy came up in the tower and he said, I'm from Stock Car Racing Magazine. Keith, you probably remember Stock Car Racing. It was one of the first publications that came out years and years ago. He said, I'm here to do an article. He said, we've been at Charlotte, and we decided we could find us a dirt track, come to the dirt track. I still have the article, and this is another one that is cherished to me. And he said, Fayetteville Motor Speedway has got some great racing. They got great drivers such as Chubby Tompkins, Jimmy Porky Edwards Jr., and they had Glenn Simpkins. They had J.D. McDuffie, Glenn McDuffie. They got some of the greatest drivers and some of the best racing entertainment. But they've got one thing that a lot of track announcers don't got, and that is a track announcer that keeps everything lively, and his name is Marty Webb, right there in black and white. That's the first time I saw my name in black and white. I said, hey, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I cherish that. And by the way, Keith, whenever you get up here, you keep your eye on that Eddie Royster picture over there with Ray Hendricks with me down on the racetrack. It might disappear. but guys, I tell you, I wish your show was 2 hours, because I've got a lot more I could tell you, but I know we got to get Keith up here. We're down at the bottom of the hour, and you've got some other guests that's got to
Well,
go.
we definitely want to see your name in black and white up here on the steel. Make sure that you sign before you leave.
Is that the wall of shame right there?
No, this is the wall of a lot of awesome people. I mean, I can tell you, it's an honor to have started this. You know, looking back to where it first started at, had no clue that we would have the folks that we've had sitting right here talking to us, including you, Marty. And I thank you so much for coming down.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we greatly appreciate you. And definitely want to tell you, Mark Webb says, I'm grateful to have been to many races with my father, caught a few with him. And your daughter says, yeah, you're cutting into my Wheel of Fortune time.
Mark joined me at Dublin Motor Speedway as the what's it called, the race receiver guy, talking to the guys, and it was really one of the highlights of my career to have him next to me doing race receiver. And whenever I would have a class reunion or something that I needed to do, he would sub for me on PA. And he did an excellent job, and was glad to have Mark beside me at the racetrack as well.
You know, maybe we can do, like, one day we know it's gonna be a rain out or something, we could do a round table and just sit here and tell stories, man, from
I mean, that's
good
a
old
whole show
times,
in
you know, I
itself.
mean,
Oh,
it
yeah.
is, you know,
The
'cause
people
it-
in this room alone, I guarantee
There's
we'd
so
have
much-
2 days worth of talking.
there's so much that we didn't even know
Oh,
about, like you said, I'd had no clue that the whole flag stand fell
Yeah.
and it
I
knocked
mean,
the
yeah,
poor fella
that's-
out, and I mean, there's a lot of great stories.
Just
that
listening about
we
it,
can sit
asphalt
here
in
and-
Fayetteville. I mean, that's.
Yeah, it started out, they ran 3 races as dirt, and then Kroll, I think it was Kroll Construction Company that had originally built the racetrack, they decided they wanted to pave it. And whenever they did, I mean, it was phenomenal for like 5 years. Eddie Royster and, let's see, Ray Hendricks would come and bring 2 race cars. Ray would run in late model and modified, had the a big flame on the car, number 11 in the circle. A lot of you guys probably don't even remember Ray Hendricks, but he would come with 2 cars. A lot of the other people would show up with 2 cars. And I can remember many a times that the track promoter or track owner at that time was Monk Hare. And Monk came up to the tower and he says, Marty, he says, you got to tell the people to get up and move closer together. We got another 200 out at the gate and we ain't got room to set them. Wow. But I mean, that really, and I was so glad whenever I saw some posts last week. Jim Long put some people in that racetrack last week, and I just want to say kudos to him. A lot of people say, well, he's probably happy he took a bunch to the bank Monday, but I'm gonna tell you what with the nut that he had to break that last weekend, he was fortunate if he left there breaking even. But I was so glad to see so many people in those stands last week, and that's what you got to do, guys. You got to constantly be proactive about racing. You got to be positive about racing. Don't go on Facebook and start slamming so-and-so did this and so-and-so did that, and the racetrack promoter ain't doing this and the racetrack promoter ain't doing that.
All you're going to do is kill our sport.
That's exactly what it'll do. It will make your sport go away. If you don't believe it, call and talk to Richard down in Dublin. Okay? But anyway, guys, I appreciate the opportunity. Anytime I can help you guys, you just give me a call. Let me know.
We thank you, Marty. Thank you so much,
Thank
buddy,
you very
definitely
much.
for coming in tonight.
Absolutely, my
Y'all got
pleasure.
any questions?
I mean, I'm not going to keep asking.
I'm speechless. And Rachel Ryan is speechless.
That's pretty crazy, dude.
The only last time I saw him speechless was at the racetrack when he finished like what, last to you?
Matter of fact, we got a new nickname for him. I'll debut it later on.
All right. Anyway, we're gonna take it out on commercial. Marty, thank you so much,
Thank
brother.
you,
We
sir.
greatly appreciate you coming back.
Joseph got one. I thought Joseph was trying to ask me a question.
All right.
Oh, I was just saying, I had the pleasure of working with Marty his final year behind the microphone. That was pretty cool.
The last photo I got with me holding the microphone, you took it.
Yeah, sure did.
That's awesome, man. Good
That
stuff.
was good stuff, man. It was a pleasure hearing him. He's one of the only track announcers that roll a roster out. The first thing he just goes through the list of everybody that works at the racetrack. It's pretty neat.
Yeah.
I just always thought it was pretty cool to highlight some of the people that don't really
Get highlighted at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always like to make sure that people knew who the flagman was, who the scorekeepers were. I would always,
seen you start
know,
taking some pictures of
we
that.
would welcome everybody, and not only was I welcoming them, but Elaine Benson, the scorekeeper, the track photographer. I try to remember everybody's name on it when we would welcome everybody to the racetrack. Great working with you too, young man.
Awesome, man. Well, we're fixing to take it out of here. When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be sitting around with the legendary Mr. 13 himself, Keith Smith.
Thanks out, Magic.
Thank you, brother.
It's Matt Long, and I'm watching Shine Runners Racing Radio. Say that 5 times fast.
I might need to get AAA crane service.
This is Matt Tuberville, number 27 with Kegel Racing Engines, TCI Motorsports, and you're watching Shine Racing Radio.
Yeah, that's right.
It's your job to put it in the winner circle, but it's ours to make your ride stand out above the rest. With full-colored wraps or die-cut designs, Bellinger Signs and Graphics is sure to put you in the eyes of the fans. That's not all. We do custom yard signs, storefront, and your everyday decal. Come see us today at Bellinger Signs and Graphics, 3392 Dunn Road, Eastover, North Carolina.
How about that? Oh, yeah. That work. Yeah, it's on. You're good.
Look at those parts to put you in the winner circle? Let Redline Speed Shop be your one stop for all performance needs. From straight strip to left turns, they have it all. Tires, fuel, and safety equipment, and that's just the beginning. Come by today, 404 Hope Mills Road, and get your win on with Redline Speed Shop.
Man, I tell you what, that was great talking with Mr. Marty Webb, and hearing all those stories about stuff we would have never knew about. And that's the thing we tell a lot of people, even here with Shine Runners Racing Radio, man, is there's so much history behind motorsports right here in our own backyards that a lot of us don't even know about. And talking about one great guy who has been a huge part of motorsports around here, and Mr. Keith Smith, man, it's a pleasure to have you sitting beside us.
Thank you, Robert. It's great to be here. But before I say anything about me, I want to say something about you. And preacher was saying a few Sundays ago that Jesus said, "I did not come to be served, but to serve." And you have a servant's heart. That's one thing that I've always admired about you and your entourage, that you give so much of yourself to others and raise money for good causes and everything. And so it's a blessing for what you do for other people, because Jesus says, treat your neighbor like yourself, and you certainly do that.
Yeah, it takes all of us, man. I can't take all the credit. It definitely takes everybody. And it was great to have you the other day, the good old days of dirt. And you brought out your arsenal of photos. And when we pulled up and Keith backed his truck in there with crate upon crate upon crate of photos from, way back in the days of the old Fayetteville Motor Speedway and everything, I was blown away. And what you told me, how many clicks, and this is something you listened to, Joseph, how many clicks of racing photos have you taken?
Well, I've got a room of nothing but file cabinets with negatives, and about everything I've taken has been negatives, because the digital age came kind of a few years ago for me anyway. But back when I started in the 70s, it was all film, so got a room full of file cabinets with negatives, over 1 million.
Over 1 million. You were talking about 1.4 million clicks. Wow.
It's a wonder I still got a finger. I don't know.
Yeah. Anything that you could tell Mr. Swan over here?
Well, looking at his work, I can't tell him anything. But when I started out, I had to focus the camera. I had to literally focus the camera. I had to set the light. There was nothing about it automatic. It was all manual. So, and that slowed me down a little bit because I had to do manual stuff. But it was fun.
That's awesome, man. And you brought some photos here tonight, and Dad's going to hand us a couple of them. I believe Mr. Marty Webb was pretty interested in this one right here. AJ, if you want to show it up on the screen.
Yeah.
And tell us a little bit about this.
Before I do that, I want to talk about your dad, Bert, and Gerald Bishop, because when I started out racing, I was not a mechanic, and Mr. Carl Kitchen, Mr. Bert Kitchen, they were an integral part of me learning how to work on race cars and all that. And sometimes I'd break a caliper or a rotor or something on the race car, and Bert would say, "Come with me, I know somebody." And that person he knew was Gerald Bishop. So we'd go down around the water moccasins and the pine trees, and we'd go down there and we would find whatever I needed for my race car, and we'd bring it back, and we'd put it on my car and race that weekend. And Bert always wanted to make sure that my car was running so he could outrun me. That's the only thing.
So that's what it was.
Yeah, he said, "Well, if I can outrun him," but no, we had a lot of fun racing.
He wanted me to ask if you could tell everybody what that genuine JYD stood for.
Yeah, it stood for the Junkyard Dog, that's for sure, because he and I got to learn the junkyard pretty good, because back in those days you could race a car with a reasonable budget. You could get cars out of the junkyard, put some fresh spark plugs in them, tune up the carburetor a little bit, make sure your points and plugs are good, and you could go out and race and have a good time. And the class we were running stock tires. So you could race very economical, and the pure stock class at that time, you'd have 20-25 cars every night, and it was a very economical way to race.
Yeah.
But talking about that picture, that's a picture that was taken at the Cumberland International Speedway that Marty's been talking a lot about. And one of the big names in racing at that time was Ray Hendrick and Eddie Royster. They kind of dominated the track. They were running Chevelles with big blocks in them. And Marty was an announcer. Sometimes he'd go down and maybe get some nuggets of information from the drivers so they could, he could talk about them during the race. And I just happened to saw Marty down there and snap the picture with Ray Hendrick and Eddie Royster there. And that was a wonderful track. And Matter of fact, there's a picture board over there that I met Dale Earnhardt Sr. over there, and he used to race at that track a lot, won a lot of races. One of the interesting stories about Dale Earnhardt Sr. and the Cumberland track here in Fayetteville, he came down by himself at the time. He could just afford himself to be the pit crew. He was by himself. He came down, won the race, and I'd taken his picture in Victory Lane, and he told me when he came in I saw him coming in, and I said, I've got your picture in the Victory Lane last week. He said, yeah, I want to get it after the race. He said, I can't afford it right now. He said, but I'm planning on winning. He says, and I'll have the money to buy the picture after the race. And he also had somebody with him. I didn't recognize her, but he says, I got a new girlfriend tonight. And he told me this later down in the pits. He says, I want you to look after her. She's by herself down here. And if I win, I want you to drag her out on the racetrack because I want you to take a picture with her because this will be our first picture together. So there's a picture on that board there with Dale and Teresa. And she was Teresa Houston. Tommy Houston's was her uncle. Tommy raced cars back in the what I call late model class back in the NASCAR days, and his brother Hal Houston raced a little bit, but Tommy was a much better driver. But this is Teresa Houston, and as far as I know, that's the first picture ever taken together.
Oh man, a lot of cool stuff, man. A lot of awesome stuff.
Well, Dale helped me out in Daytona. I think it was 78 or 79. I got down to Daytona, and somehow my credentials got messed up, and I just happened to run into Dale. And Dale is starting to get some credibility, and I think he was running for Rookie of the Year or something that year. And I told him, because I had a bunch of pictures of him, I'd taken him up at Martinsville, and he says, I'll get you in. So Dale Sr. was nice enough to help me get in the Daytona track that year until I got my credentials straightened out.
That's cool. And to hear, Dale Earnhardt Sr. said he didn't have enough money to buy the picture, and then look at where he went to in racing because he stuck with it, and he made it work. And that reminds me of a lot of what you guys used to do around my grandmother's house. Y'all made stuff work, and you got out there every weekend and had fun with each other, and it's just awesome to be able to still sit here and talk about all the good times that I remember as a child around the racing shops and whatnot. So saying with that being said, you were a big part of driving as well as doing the photography, as well as putting together those famous photo books, the end of year point series, points championship books and stuff like that. And if you would please iterate to Miss Felicia Swan that if you look on the inside, you'll see the correct date for the points. If you would give her a little bit of that for me.
Well, what happened was at the end of the year, say 1988, whoever won the track championships, whatever, I got a list from Lane Benson usually, and we would during the winter I'd work on it because it was off season, and I'd have time to put the book together and try to sell ads, and by getting it published probably around March or April, then we could sell it at the racetrack. But it took all winter to get all the pictures together and the ads together and everything, so we would have a racing book. It was just basically kind of a record of the previous years and the cars that were there from the previous year.
And I want to, something that's cool about Full Circling, this car that Ernie Irvin drove was hand painted, the actual numbers and all, by your dad, correct, Jim?
Yep, that's right. We were talking about that earlier.
So that's pretty awesome.
That's when hand stenciling used to be the only way.
Yeah, man. That's neat how that happened. And you brought that picture today, and it's kind of a thing for Jim too. He gets to reflect a little bit back on his father and what he used to do with the cars and racing and all that stuff, man. So I love this. I could do this all day long.
Well, Pat Purvis called me and said that he was, and John Atkinson was the owner of the car, and Pat had a lot of money in it as well, and they were getting the car ready to put some gold leaf on it, and he says just as soon as he puts the gold leaf on it, I want you to take a bunch of pictures of it. And I actually got there and watching him put the gold leaf on it, which I'd never seen that before, but that was just amazing artistry to do something like that. I'd never seen it before, and I don't think there's too many cars at that time had gold leaf on the side for their numbers, but it was a wonderful car. And then he told me, he said, listen, we got a new driver coming out of the Charlotte area. He's supposed to be a hot shoe, moved here from California. He's trying to make it NASCAR, so he's a pretty good driver. We're going to put him in and send him down to Dublin. So Ernie Irvin went down to Dublin, and guess what he did? He won the race pretty easily. He had a good car, and he was a good driver, so that was a good combination.
And that pays homage to a lot of good old Saturday night driving, man. A lot of these guys who made it to the top in NASCAR and whatnot have been a part of just good old Saturday night racing.
Is that the half mile from Dublin?
Yeah, same track now.
Well,
And I,
Well, same
smaller.
place.
Yeah, same place, yeah.
that photo too, like I asked you a little bit earlier, the one there at Davy Allison, I've actually seen that on a card, like an actual sports card, like baseball cards, or, you know, I've seen that on racing cards, so.
Yeah, that's been a very popular picture. And like you say, a lot of drivers that maybe weren't known at the time that became famous raced at Cumberland. Morgan Shepherd, I remember him racing at Fayetteville a lot. I remember at the old Fayetteville Speedway, David Pearson would come down in his dirt track car and run some of the guys. Tiny Lund would come at the dirt track and race the local guys. And it was always a big deal for the local guys to try to see if they could compete with one of the named drivers from NASCAR, like Tiny Lund or David Pearson. I remember Kyle Petty came down one night, raced with them. Terry Labonte raced with them one night at the old Fayetteville Speedway. So it was a lot of fun to see some of the famous drivers. And I tell you what, Porky Edwards and Chubby Tompkins, some of those guys, they gave Tiny Lund and David Pearson a run for their money. The only thing I was reminded about Tiny Lund is that the old Fayetteville Speedway, there was a groove, but at the top was real loose, and people weren't used to driving what they call on the berm. They were used to staying down in the groove, and everybody set up their car to run more of an asphalt type groove. But Tiny Lund had set up his car to run on the berm. And guess where he passed everybody? He rim-roaded just like Kyle Larson does today around the edge of the track, and outrun everybody.
I see we got a smile.
That's right.
That's Mr. Larson's fan over there.
Well, Kyle Larson reminds me of Tiny Lund running at the old Fayetteville Speedway around the top.
Now we have Nancy says, does Keith remember Benny Parsons?
Yeah, Benny was a real gentleman. I've taken a bunch of pictures of him when he was with the Kings Row folks, and every time I asked to take pictures with Benny with some of his sponsors, I think he was very cordial, very cooperative, and Benny was just a top-notch fellow. I very rarely do you hear anybody say anything bad about Benny Parsons, because he was a real gem.
That's awesome. We also had another question come in. Yeah, Brian Ivy asked if you still have the old blue Corvette.
I've got the blue Corvette under the carport. Still got the 454 in it. It looks just like it did back in the day. The way they did that, Donald Ray had a bunch of people wanted him to race, you know, after the track closed down, and Donald Ray and Shirley Autry were running at the track at the time, and so he says, let's get a spectator race. So he set up some rules that you had to have a licensed car on the track. So the first night they had, I think they had 15 or 16 inches. As a matter of fact, there's a picture somewhere over there of the car, and the write-up about it was in the paper. And what they did, everybody drew a number. So if you drew number 7, you would be the 7th car to race. What they did, they took 2 cars side by side, like a drag race, but instead of going in a straight line, you raced from the flag stand at a dead stop back to the checkered flag. You ran 1 lap with your spectator car, whatever your car was. So I drew number 1. So I had to race number 2. So the winner of that race races number 3. The winner of that race races number 4. The winner of that race races number 5. So guess who I had to race? Everybody that night.
Oh man!
So I get down to the 15th car, and Dwayne Parker, and he had borrowed somebody's Firebird. So he and I were battling it out the whole lap side by side, and he was trying to pass me on the outside. He slipped up a little bit, and I won the race out of 16. I had raced 15 times to win that race, and then they did it again. Somehow the different rules the next week, and somehow I won that week, and then. Of course, I had a lot of people questioning my intelligence taking a street car Corvette with fiberglass body on a racetrack, on a round track, anyway, dirt racetrack. But I won 3 straight races, and then they canceled it.
Oh man!
So you're undefeated.
Yeah, and
still undefeated. There is one more thing, you know, before we have to go into a commercial. We definitely want to know the deal. You are one of the gentlemen who has a Martinsville clock.
Yeah, I was one of the first ones to win the Martinsville clock.
That is awesome. Can we get that clock over here, please? It's changed a little bit in time.
The story behind that was it 1975 wrote on that?
1975.
Yeah, 1975, I'd gone up to Martinsville where I did a lot of racing photography up there because I love those modifieds. Had big wide tires on them, the big block Chevrolets. There's nothing that I've ever been to a racetrack that sounded any better than a big block modified with side pipes cranking up on the front stretch at Martinsville. Nothing sounded better than that. But anyway, at the time I was working for a newspaper in Dunn, and as a media, and went up to the press booth, and before the race started, they said, I want everybody to write down who's going to win the race and the average speed of the, who's going to win the race at the end of the race. So I wrote down Richard Petty, and I did a little calculation from the previous races that he was going to average 82 miles per hour for the whole race. And sure enough, he won, and I was the closest of the people that picked Richard Petty to the actual average speed, so I got my Martinsville clock.
That's awesome, dude. And that's cool to be able to see that.
That's amazing.
Would have never had
That's
I would
history.
personally would have
That's
never had
just
a chance to be around a Martinsville clock.
No.
So that's
Now
good
you
stuff,
have.
man.
Check that out.
What's some of the most, I'm gonna do this right, memorable. I like that.
There you go.
I was practicing, because I was praying Marty was gonna say rememberable, but he didn't, he said memorable. So what's your most memorable photo out of all 1.4 million photos, your most favorite?
Probably knowing it was one of the first pictures of Dale Earnhardt and Teresa that was ever taken together, because how popular was Dale Earnhardt Sr. And you don't know how many people I have talked to over the years, and this is not a good statement to say, but I've heard so many people say that when he died, they lost a lot of interest in racing.
That NASCAR died with.
I have heard that so many
That
times.
will be said forever and ever, because he was the
uh,
one thing keeping him alive.
Yeah.
And he really was.
Most people had a love-hate relationship with Dale Earnhardt Sr.
You either loved him or you hated him, that's
Yeah,
for sure.
but that put a lot of fans in the stands. It really did. And he just had that type of personality that he drew people to the racetrack, and you can't deny he was an excellent race car driver. And I remember somebody at the racetrack came up to me right after he won a couple races at the Coleman track and said, that guy's going to go somewhere. I don't remember who it was, but they were pretty adamant that he was going to go somewhere, and boy, that was an understatement.
Do you have any time, like a time frame maybe when he got his name, when the Intimidator went?
Oh, that was probably in the early 80s, because he drove pretty reasonable his first rookie year. He didn't really knock that many people out of the way, because he wanted to get some credibility with his fellow drivers that had a lot more experience than he was during his rookie year. So he won Rookie of the Year in '79 for NASCAR, and he won his first race at Bristol in a Monte Carlo. And
Oh, man.
how about that? But
That's your favorite.
I think in the early 80s he started getting a little credibility, and he started knocking people out of the way, and of course he knows Rubbin's racing.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Yeah,
We'll bump and run.
But a story about Dale Earnhardt, also in 1977, his father-in-law at the time was Robert G., who built a lot of race cars in that era. They took a dirt track Camaro up to Wilson County Fairgrounds Speedway and had a big 100 lapper there. There was probably 40 or 50 late model cars there, and he won the race there. And I remember getting a lot of good pictures of him with dirt all over his face. Very rarely do you see a picture with Dale Earnhardt with dirt all over his face from a dirt track. And so I was very privileged to take that picture of him in Victory Lane. And actually, before the race started, I was brave enough to stick my camera in the passenger door and snap a picture. I'm sitting there in the cockpit with his car ready to go at the dirt track.
That's cool, man.
Looking back on your pictures, I noticed that you have a lot of numbers on the back. Is every picture you take and everything's cataloged and filed away? I mean, you can go back and look up about anything.
Yeah, I started writing numbers on the back of the pictures, and sometimes I put stickers on the back. Of course, the stickers probably fall off by now, but I usually use a pen to write at the upper left of the back of the picture the negative number, the car number, and then what year they were taken. If there's an F on it, that was taken at Fayetteville. If there's a D on it, it was Dublin. If there's a W on it, that was Wake County. WF was Wilson Fairgrounds. So usually by the back of the picture, I can tell you where it was, what year it was taken, and what car number it was, and then I can go to my file cabinet and pull out the negative and get a reprint.
Wow, that's crazy.
I'd love to just look through some.
Yeah,
of
right.
I'd like to.
How long could you look through the filing cabinets?
Yeah, no doubt.
Well, about 5 or 6 years ago, and for those of you that want to look at a lot of pictures, write this down: Smile Media, SMYLE. About 5 or 6 years ago, somehow a guy in Charlotte knew that I had a pretty extensive collection. He came, drove from Charlotte with a van, and looked through my filing cabinet and says, "Listen, I want all your negatives. I'm going to put them online, and we're going to sell them." I said, "Okay." So Smile Media, SMYLE Media, has got a lot of the NASCAR pictures that I've taken, and he's sold a lot of them to ESPN and Fox Sports 1. And if you see a lot of pictures of early pictures of Dale Earnhardt or Bill Elliott, chances are I took them, and they've been on a lot of the news, the race broadcasts, and
all over the place.
About 3 times a year I get a check from Smile Media. They give me half. Whatever they sell it for, I get half, and they'll send me some money. So that was a wise move to send him all my
So
negatives.
you might
and his
actually have
scandal.
some racing cards out there, some pictures with racing cards. Have you ever actually looked into that?
No, I haven't looked into it, but I told him what was important is that when I pass on and go to heaven, I want my daughters to continue to reap some income from all those pictures that I took over the years.
I mean, they're amazing. The stuff that you've taken is the beginning of people's careers, and that kind of stuff's amazing.
Well, that's kind of a funny story too, because when I first started in the early '70s taking pictures, everybody was around Richard Petty and David Pearson, and you couldn't even get within miles from them because all the press photographers were taking pictures of them. So light bulb went off my head. Okay, these guys in the back, they're going to be up and coming. So I went to the back of the field. I started taking. I've got Bill Elliott's first race. I've got.
Have you got a camera here? You can take one of Racing Ryan.
Yeah.
Caught me off guard.
That's right. So the pictures I took in the earlier stages were some of the guys running in the back that nobody else was taking pictures of. So
well, that's where you guys started making the cards for the stands and getting the people in the stands getting the cards, and then they go down to the racers, and something like that needs to happen again. You need to bring more interaction between the stands, the fans, and the drivers.
Interaction is where it's at.
Man, that's
exactly right.
That's what we're focusing on, myself and a few others. We're trying to do that interaction between the fans and people racing, because if you don't start showing these people about racing again, they kind of just forget about it.
Well, if you ask any kid that's been to a race, he'll never forget his first race or two. He'll never forget meeting a race car driver.
We're going to be talking about that here in the shout outs here shortly.
That's a big deal.
That's a huge deal.
It's a real big deal.
You ever people at Benny Parsons? You ever get a chance to be around them at all?
Yeah, Benny Parsons many times. Yeah, just from a photography standpoint.
I grew up around a gentleman. What's his name? Harris Rummage. He was one of his pit crew members. He gave me a lot of stuff. I've got a few original Benny Parsons jackets and a few things that come out of that group of individuals that should be some memorabilia that I've got stepped away in.
Well, Kings Road wanted me to take some pictures of being in his pit crew during the race, so I may have a picture of him working on the car.
No kidding. I would love to go through some of that information. I've got some family members that would love to see some of that.
Yeah, Marty was talking about Pete Fan a while ago. I remember back in the '60s, I had gone to a racetrack, and race was over, and just dying to see what it was like to be on a racetrack. I took my car out on the racetrack after it kind of closed down, and I was running around the track, and unbeknownst to me, Pete Fan was trying to flag me, or not flag me, but motion me to come in the track, and I wasn't paying attention because I was just driving around the track after the racetrack closed, and next thing I know, here comes a flag flying out of the stand, hits my hood of my car, and so I got the impression Pete wanted me to pull in, so he literally threw the flag and hit the hood of my car.
Well, man, we appreciate you coming in. Like I said, God, I could talk for hours.
I'm telling you, we might have to keep it a little while after the show.
Anybody got any questions for Keith?
So I got a text from Mom, and she wants to know, how was Joe Swan as a crewman in his younger years?
Unbelievably very smart. He really was, and he was he would help anything that.
And we know why Swanee's hair is all bushy.
Yeah.
He takes after his dad.
He was very dependable. He really was, and he would walk. He'd walk down to the shop to work. He'd either walk or ride his bike. And if there was something underneath the car that needed to be fixed, he'd crawl under and fix it. So he was. My memories of Joe working on the car is nothing but positive.
That's awesome, man.
I wish I grew up in y'all's era. I swear.
Well, I was blessed. I really was. The Lord has blessed me in so many ways. But to be in that era when you could race a car at a very reasonable cost.
Not even that. Just the beautiful cars that came out in that era. And
Well,
even right before then, it was just America was America. Beautiful cars were beautiful. All makes and models. There was no. It was just everything about that era was beautiful. The Sunday night drive-ins where everybody would meet together. I mean, just that's what racing and all that kind of memorabilia. It's just. I wish I could have been a part of that.
Well, in the Pure Stock program, you had Monte Carlos, you had Camaros, you had Fairlanes, you had Mustangs. I mean, the fan could relate to exactly what you were racing. If they had one like it, if somebody was racing a Mustang, pretty sure they were going to pull for that Mustang. Same thing with the late models. They had Chevelles, and they had Falcons, and Mustangs. You know where it's in the late model class. Glenn McDuffie had beautiful Fairlanes with 427 Fords, and a 427 Ford is as good a sounding engine you'll ever hear. And Chubby Thompson was driving his 427 Chevrolet Big Block in a 65 Chevelle. So you could relate to what kind of car that people had in the stands, in the parking lot, and on the racetrack.
That's kind of how I feel about the U-Car class. People come all the time. Hey, it's a Nissan Sentra you drive
They know what you're driving.
They asked me, one last question was asked Tell us about the Powder Puff race that you were
Oh,
so fortunate to be a part of.
Weren't you in the points race too or something?
Well, that's a story that has a sad ending. They were getting up a powder puff race, and they wanted my wife at the time to race the car, and so I was in a deep points battle with Mike Bullock. He was the perennial front runner, and I was a few points out of first place. And I said, now have fun, but please don't race the car, because I got to race the car in the next, after your race, or sometime during the night I got to race. And so, sure enough, I think her and Marsha Parker got together, and somehow she ran into the front straight, bent the front fender, and cut the tire and bent the frame, and so I was unable to race that.
I feel your
night.
devastation as you talk about this.
So what?
I said I can feel your devastation.
You can feel the pain.
Well,
as you talk about
listen,
it. In the voice.
I finished second. I finished second in the points 3 times. And I really wanted my picture on the front cover of that race.
Somebody else better take my picture.
Because to me, when that program came out, who was on the front cover?
Yeah.
The track champions.
Yeah.
And to finish second 3 times and just come close to.
We had
not
2
winning
this
it.
year. We had 2 this year. Yeah, we finished second in the Southern Destination Power Sports in Southwest Florida and lost the championship to a throttle cable. We would have won that Maxxis, man. I was trying to figure out how them boys were catching Wyatt. Come back in, the throttle cable sitting there. We only had half throttle for the last half of the race. And I've always been, and why I absolutely hate it with a passion, second place, because I've always been second best. Always. I was second in the Nationals. I was second in the points championship. And to have that chance for my son to be able to win a championship and to get the kitchen, of course, Dad's won all kinds of championships, but to get, my offspring out of that best second place driver there is kind of deal. Yeah. I'm with you, Keith. I'm with you.
Yeah. Well, when you do, you will appreciate it.
Oh,
I
yeah,
promise
yeah.
you will appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, buddy, thanks again so much for coming in tonight. We greatly appreciate you, and definitely want you to sign the board back here. And man, it's an honor. It really is.
Thank you so much.
All right, we're going to take it out, ladies and gentlemen. When we come back, we're going to hit mail time, late model lowdown, the whole 9, with all the information for the upcoming racing and what happened last weekend. Y'all stay tuned.
Thank you.
That's it. Buddy, thanks. Sure.
I keep running.
This is Matt Turbeville, number 27 with Kegel Racing Engines, TCI Motorsports, and you're watching Shine Radio.
My phone ain't live right now. Comments for some reason. I don't know why. I have to keep getting out and going back into it. It ain't uploading the comments on my phone.
It's your job to put it in the winner circle, but it's ours to make your ride stand out above the rest. With full-colored wraps or die-cut designs, Bellinger Signs and Graphics is sure to put you in the eyes of the fans. That's not all. We do custom yard signs, storefront, and your everyday decal. Come see us today at Bellinger Signs and Graphics, 3392 Dunn Road, Eastover, North Carolina.
In the action, man, and back in the action, man. We could sit here for hours talking with these fellas. It's so good to have such great interaction, with these folks who have really paved the way in motorsports.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, hearing those stories, those are the things that we've got to get those on some kind of audio tape or something like that, because eventually there's not going to be anybody to tell those. It's going to be us to pass them.
Us telling about what's going on. So it's going to be us talking about Willie Milliken to our kids,
right?
And all that stuff that went on. But it's mail time! One of my favorite times, ladies and gentlemen. It is mail time up in the house, and we have got a box here, courtesy of Brown's Motorsports. And we'll let you open it, my friend. Huge thanks. While I talk a little bit about mail time. If you want to become a mail time partner, all you have to do is send it in 3392 Dunn Road. Send in a little bit of information. If you want to send in a product, we'll talk about it. A lot of cool products. We've had beer nuts. They'll shout out. We still got beer nuts. Oh, yeah. And a lot of stuff from Jegs and all kinds of good stuff. So last week's was from Military Luggage Company, militaryluggage.com. So if you would like to tell us a little bit about it, bro.
Yeah, so we got, this is coming from Brown's Motorsports. They provided us with some pins. There's a letter in here that says, we at Browns Motorsports, number 50 Mile Light, would like to say thank you, you guys, for all you do in the racing world. We enjoy the show every week and the good laughs. To show our appreciation, we'd like for you guys to have one of our 2018 Racing ink pens, and we hope you get a lot of use out of them because we know Rooster may not get a lot of use out of his, but we sent him one anyways. And thanks again for all you do. And it's really cool because it's got a little flashlight on the end right there. So that's great to have in your pocket at the racetrack. You know, if you need to get up under there and check something out, you know.
Cool stuff, man. So huge thanks to Browns Motorsports. And speaking of Browns Motorsports, Miss Deborah Brown is actually having her 23rd birthdays, from what I'm hearing. 23rd, 24th birthday. Saturday coming up, so happy birthday going out for them. And you know, I'm very proud to look down at you know, you got little Hollywood driving the number 50 Mod Light.
Yeah.
You know, and you see him out at Rockfish, so it's cool, man. The Browns are keeping it going, man. It's always good to see Lewis and Miss Deborah and all them folks. You know, I love going to the racetrack, and they come out and actually were able to flag at the Caroline Ackerman benefit race and stuff like that. So it's cool how everything works out. Thank you, and thank you for joining our mail time. Like I say, if you want to become a mail time partner, 3392 Dunn Road, Fayetteville, North Carolina. Send it in. It don't matter what it is. We'd love to open the box and talk about it.
That's right.
Well, at this time, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take it down to pit chat, and we're going to figure out what happened during the late model lowdown last weekend.
Well, we were out at, as y'all know, we had the first in flight 100 at Fayetteville Motor Speedway, and taking home the win this year was Jimmy Owens for $25,000.
Stop right there, ho. No. Jimmy Owens didn't win that. Oh, Lord.
He didn't?
No, he didn't. Now, the winner for that one was Bubba Brown. What happened was I pulled in the gate Saturday evening. I look over there and Jimmy Owens has got this look on his face. So I park, walk over there, I said,
like a bad dream?
Just lost. Nervous. I walk over there and said, Jimmy, you look kind of worried about something. He said, man, I got Shepard beside me and I'm lost. I don't know if I can handle it. So we talked about it a little bit, and folks, Jimmy hid in the holler. I got in that Supra, and I wheeled that thing.
Like Dewey Ryder.
But I was handling it. But I mean, it was awesome. Shepard, I didn't never worry about him at all. Well, what people don't realize, there was a caution on that 98, I think it was. I mean, it was fast. It was so fast nobody seen it. I got out. Jimmy got back in the car. I said, handle it. The car's there.
You saved him enough tire to run those last two laps.
He had enough on that right rear for about 2 more laps. I mean, I babied that thing. And boom, he come out. He got the glory. And the most awesomest thing of the night was Sasquatch. Old Bloomer Britches didn't make it. So he had to get a picture with old Jimmy Owens.
I believe that was like 2 nightmares in one picture right there, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was bad. I've heard about that all week, but
You did have a grin, though. I like that.
And he gave him the one finger.
hey, if you're going to do it, you might as well go ahead and do it.
That's right.
Now you just need some shirts.
But I just wanted to clear the air. I hated to interrupt your program here, but I had to clear the air.
Yeah.
You know, I did have pep talk with all the winners Saturday night. You know, told them go ahead and just handle it.
Now, is that a class that you put on every week for a small fee?
I do it free.
Free?
I'll just show you what to do.
Well, I want to go ahead and sign old Pride
When you get
Ride.
your stuff out
You
there,
can go ahead and
just
sign up
I'll
on-
be there.
Oh, you need to go ahead and sign him. Well, wait a minute. He don't show up at the racetrack, so don't worry about it. Cancel his.
I'll help AJ out. I can do it.
He needs a lot of help.
So you were the one driving, Jimmy O, the Newport Nightmare. It was you driving.
Bubba got in there with some Vaseline and all of it. Slip in there. That was a tight fit. That should be getting out real fast. It was like shabam.
So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. It was Bubba Brown that was actually driving for Jimmy Owens that race this weekend, first in flight.
But unfortunately, Jimmy's going to get credit for
Yeah.
being on paper.
You know, that's all I want. That's all I want.
Right.
You know, even if Bloomer was there, he wouldn't have had a chance either.
Right.
I'm glad you came in and set that straight, man.
Lewis, it'll be a different story. Wherever you are, Bubba Ran will be a different story in July. Jimmy O's gonna be back.
Oh, I'm sure Bloomer-
20th range back there.
I'm sure Bloomer have somewhere else he got to go. I gotta go run another mile race, huh?
Well, thanks for clearing that up for us, man.
No problem. I'm glad I
Appreciate
could be
it.
assistance.
What else we got going on, Bo?
Well, so the World of Outlaw will be headed down to Atomic Speedway Friday, May the 18th for the Outlaw Invasion 10,000 win. The Lucas Oil Series on Friday. There's a lot of racing going on Friday. If Mother Nature doesn't get a hold of all of it, I know there's a lot that's been canceling around here. But,
Don't be talking like that.
Friday, May 18th at the Spring Shootout at 141 Speedway. That's 12,000 win. The Clash is going to be at Carolina Speedway for 4,000 win this Friday night. And the and Fayetteville, the I-95 Late Model Challenge is May 25th to 26th. It's the memorial race they have every year. So that's what we got going on, man. It was a really good race. I do want to give a big shout out to WG, broke the track record, and put it on the pole.
Did he use that high side again?
He was rolling.
I think it was our expertise Friday night.
It was. That's exactly what it was. That, see, people don't know about that, so we'll keep that one on the deal.
We laid it on.
So y'all,
I was not allowed to drive anything Saturday night. I had my keys taken over my golf cart.
Hey, whenever we rolled back up there at Big Ed's speed shop down there in the camper, I said, AJ, you ain't gonna be happy.
He said, how much did they pay you for disking up that track?
Because there was clay and mud from one end of the golf cart to the other.
I imagine.
But yeah, so good shout out to them, and it was a really great track, man. There was 2 wide racing. Boom City Express Lane was rolling. You got anything on Late Model Lowdown, Swanee?
Just you pretty much covered it. The Outlaws, Lucas back in action. Ultimate back in action this weekend. The Carolina Clash is I think that's a Skylar True Memorial makeup. But I mean, pretty much the Outlaws and Fayetteville was the main deal last weekend. They had a weekend on to themselves, and once again, I think it did really well. Packed the house. It was good to see the whole Lamb family there and the little tribute they did. It was pretty cool to have a group photo with all the drivers.
Awesome.
It just went really well. So now it's on to Memorial and get ready for the big Lucas show in July.
What was the deal in Lake Cumberland Speedway where the car actually cleared the fence?
Yeah.
The pole and then the fence?
He came through.
I think they said it's something like a steering rack or something.
Yeah, then he rode the wall and he got up on it. It was kind of like one of them deals Marty was talking about.
Yeah, it was one of them deals.
He didn't make it quite to the flag stand, but he was
He was moving to knock that pole
he was almost
down.
headed into the grandstand.
He took that pole out.
What happened down in NASCAR racing? Right?
Well, it's been the Kevin Harvick show. 5 out of the first 11 races. He's won it. He went back-to-back the last 2 weeks, Dover and Kansas. Noah Gragson won the truck race. He had to pass Kyle Busch to do it. That's the best way to get a win. Unfortunately, though, Kyle Larson, I hate to say this.
Is that back window
cheated.
He
stupid back window.
Run out of talent.
Didn't he say he blamed that on somebody hit him or something?
All right, we're going to skip that part. Casey Kane is running a throwback scheme to his 2008 All-Star race this weekend. He's the only person to ever get in through the fan vote and win the All-Star race. Kevin Harvick, go ahead.
Them numbers are kind of funky on that ride, but they should have went ahead and put the E for Evernham on the 5 instead of the 9. I mean, I understand what they did with the 9, but it's just kind of funky looking numbers.
Okay. Kevin Harvick's Darlington paint scheme will be inspired by the 1996 Busch Beer Can. This weekend, it's the All-Star race, along with the Camping World Truck Series. It starts Friday, and the All-Star race will be Saturday with the All-Star Open. And next year, it'll actually be called the NASCAR Gander Outdoors Truck Series.
And also, Matt Kenseth made his return.
Yeah, and we all seen how that went.
Yeah,
right.
he got caught up.
He ran out of talent.
You can't turn that program around in just a race.
Yeah,
you don't.
But isn't he running the throwback to the Mark
Oh yeah,
scheme?
he's I don't know exactly what year it is, but it's the black and red one.
Yeah, I think that's the one that Mark Martin won that one at All-Star race in that paint scheme.
Jamming. Going down in sprints, my friend. Matt, I'm so glad you're back.
I know, y'all are. Where have you been?
The restraining order is over. I can be within 5
The
minutes.
ban been lifted.
Oh, is that what happened?
Yeah.
I guess there was a restraining order against me.
Don't act like you don't know you had to take it out.
Huh?
I know.
You had to go get it.
Yeah, he's gonna file them papers.
That's right. File away.
That's really why I was wearing my helmet. Tell us about sprints, bro.
All right, sprint cars. Eldora, Friday and Saturday night. Donnie Schatz was untouchable. He won again, right? So, but they also ran at Tri-State on Sunday night. David Gravel, he picked up the win there. And also, I think Racing Ron will be stoked that Kyle Larson pulled off a third there that night. So it wasn't all a wash for him.
Yeah.
Third's better than second. If I know I'm gonna finish second, I'm just gonna go ahead and drop out of the race.
Might as well just hit the wall.
I'm just gonna pull right off.
In Lucas Oil, the ASCS, Sammy Swindell came from 16th to put it up front. I'm going to come back to that in a second about something with this being the 40th anniversary of the World Outlaws. But the Rock of Hope was off this past weekend. They're going to return back with the sprint cars and mod lights. And the legend cars this weekend coming up. And we won't talk about what Mother Nature may do. But I was doing a little bit of cruising around looking, like I said, the 40th anniversary of the World Outlaws. And typically they would only, if it was a multi-feature race, they would only, if it was multi-races going on, the feature race would be the only one that would actually clock points in. So what they went back and they did is they took back all the winners from multi-day shows and put them all together. And so Steve Kinzer came out ranked #1 with 690 wins.
Oh man.
Which I thought was really impressive. And Sammy Swindell came in, but
Didn't they not count Friday wins? Ain't that one that deal that they went back and they redid it and they counted Friday wins and stuff like that? They also went back and gave him poles, and heat races and all that. So sitting here, what is that
690 wins.
Yeah, and the next one is that 394.
Yeah, Sammy Swindell is 394.
Sammy's pretty much done with World Outlaws.
Right.
He runs ASCS. And,
right.
Arctic Cat Circle of Champions and stuff like that.
Ain't nobody ever gonna catch Steve Kinzer, and ain't nobody ever gonna catch
Donnie Schatz.
Yeah, he's sitting in third. Donnie Schatz is sitting in third. So
he would just about have to win every weekend. But I don't think it's much longer until Donnie Schatz makes that change over to late models.
Right. He just got a new one too.
Because he's done everything you can do in a sprint car, other than win that big race they had up at Mansfield.
Are they at the Dome this year? Are they gonna have the midgets?
Yeah, they sent out. I think they sent out, and the first invitation was accepted.
It was Christopher Bell.
was the first one to
What is that?
Wrong kind of
That's the one Swanee went to last year.
Yeah, the Gateway.
Oh,
The Gateway Dirt National.
I just heard midgets. That's the only thing.
Yeah.
I really care about. I mean, I love my midgets.
I think the Ray Bollinger was the first modified. Christopher
Probably
Bell
related to me.
Was the I promise you, son. He drove
Speaking of
way back.
restraining orders, when does the one that get lifted for y'all to be within 50 foot of me on a racetrack?
Dude, you haven't made it to the racetrack.
If you ever get to a freaking racetrack.
You haven't made it to a
You
racetrack.
gotta call ahead and let everybody know you're coming first. That way they can vacate.
I don't know what he's gonna do when poor Robbie gets his motor together. He ain't gonna have no excuses then.
No. Uh-oh. Then he going down the racetrack. Yeah, like he said he wanted to do.
That's all it was a weekend.
He's gonna forget to turn or something.
AJ, where's your car at, boy? You up there? Oh, well,
He'll be down there in the pond. End up in the pond down
I don't know what
there.
we're gonna do.
Yeah, I don't know
This
what
probably
we're
means
gonna
you're
do.
gonna be working on that car by yourself.
See,
It looks like
it's
nobody's
called
gonna help
being
you.
fashionably late.
I reckon we'll go run the B-Main. We'll go run the B-Main somewhere.
I mean, my God, we're sitting here on the edge of June, fashionably late. You've run out of time.
I reckon I'll be out there practicing on Monday.
Let's go to
It
somewhere
ain't
they
really
can't
even
talk
been that.
about
We
you.
haven't even really had that many races.
Well, look. When you win, you should make Swanee take a picture with you.
I'm down.
Exactly.
Oh, I will.
I'm down.
Oh, no. We all should.
I want them down like this.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's what's up. You got anything else on sprints?
No.
What about Apple Chill, man? How was that?
Oh man, come on with the apple chill. Anyways, it was a success. Whatever. Thanks again for filling Doc Bennett Road with a bunch of trash and garbage and ruining the racers' night that night. Anyways, but it was a big success for what they all wanted to. You seen the crowds. There was more people coming to the racetrack than was actually allowed at the racetrack. So obviously
We were just wanting to see if TT made it down there for the big old booty contest.
She must have, because there was a crowd.
I can
There
tell
was a
she was
crowd.
far from there.
Yeah,
There was a crowd.
man. So what's going on in drag racing?
Was it May 26th? You got the All Out Saturday, All Out Shred. The new 710 Speedway is May 26th as well. They got 2,500 no prep grudge race coming on. Galat Motorsports Park on the 16th. Their test and tune has been canceled. They will resume the 24th. Let's see. Oh, Saturday, May 19th, Summit ET Series points race 3 and 4. There's a drag racing family that had made a huge shout out.
The Messers.
Core. That's a huge one right here.
Oh, you're talking about Adam Core with Bladen Clint picking up his first win.
That's it. That's drag racing history in itself by itself.
Yeah.
These people went and searched down their original drag car from however many years.
It was over 20 years ago they sold that car out of the family, and Adam found it, went down there for a stepson, drove all the way to Alabama to get that car, brought it back,
first race in the car, and he puts it in the winner.
Well, that was actually his third big race, or his third race, but he first time picking up his big win, man, and that's all. And he's just a child, so he's hooked now. That Tomorrow Motorsports is
that's in the blood, big time. So big shout outs to them. Congratulations on your big win.
Yeah.
A few other things. Galat Motorsports Parks, June 1st and the 2nd. You got the Buell City 300 truck and tractor pull. That's always a blast to go watch.
Nice.
If y'all haven't seen a tractor pull, that's fun.
Big stuff. Well, we're going to go into karting, ladies and gentlemen. What do you think about $15,000 payday for Austin Banker picking it up, the Max Daddy? He ran the Max Daddy back in May the 5th. We hadn't had a chance to talk about that, but both $5,000 race. He crossed the line on that 07 Premier Kart, and Hermie Sadler wrote him another $10,000 check to pick up a $15,000 payday and the title of the Max Daddy champion in go-kart racing. $15,000.
That's a huge payout for a go-kart.
And the Backyard Series at Triple T Raceway last weekend was a success. Man, over 200 go-kart count at the point, and it proved the point that money, it's not all about the money in racing. There's people that just want to race, man. They had 35 medium bone clones out there and 32 big bone clones. One class was racing for $100, the other class was racing for $200. 35 double wide coming out of 4 for the green flag. And he said the pits were slammed, man. It was just an awesome time. And what they're trying to do with that is $8 to get in the gate, $10 to like $25, $30 to race, and they're calling it the Backyard Series. And it's for those guys, I'm not saying nothing about anybody, but it's hard to run with Cole Johnson, Austin Banker, them boys on a normal every weekend deal. I mean, you got to have the money in the pocket, you got to have the backing,
and you got to be there.
I mean, it's a lot that takes into go-kart racing.
Oh yeah,
it's tough. And you just can't. Some of these guys, man, a regular Saturday night racer. I mean, you can go out there and finish in the back all you want, or up in the top 10. But it's hard to get in there with them. But that's what this opens up, man, is the chance for everybody to come down and have a great time. Like I said, they were running for $300 and had 35 on the lineup for that. Southern Kartway canceled this weekend in efforts to help the series. That'll be running down at Fast Tracks this weekend. Fast Tracks Kartway. It'll be the Carolina Cup number turn 2. $2,000 to win Pro Stock, $1,250 to win Pro Animal. And that's down in Bennettsville, South Carolina. And they put out a message a little bit earlier. Please know that we are diligently monitoring the weather, and it pertains to this weekend's schedule at Fast Tracks. It's much too soon to make a decision at this point, but as always, we will make a call in a timely manner so that way our racers can plan accordingly. And it is. This is North and South Carolina, but it could snow this weekend. You never know what's going to happen. It's going to be 88 degrees tomorrow, and it's 204. You never know with North Carolina, so it's kind of hard to make that.
It's pretty much the same story with Rockfish. Talked to Bill. Bill posted on there a while ago. He said they're pretty much monitoring the weather, doing the same thing.
It's hard to make that call, and I just want to send out a shout out to these guys. Predator 375 for the win back at the Backyard Series. Michael Rivers, Green Shrimp #1, Brody Rhodes, Pro Green Shrimp, Hope Mills Hammer, Grayson Dyerson picks up his 3rd win in a row. 2 in the sprint car, 1 in the go kart. Anthony Legg picking up that red plate, man. Anthony's doing a wonderful job. They've got an awesome racing program that they've got going on. Huge shout out to Joey and Mr. Ted and all them.
He's got a new go-kart too that he's about to start riding.
Yeah.
I think a mini car.
I can't say enough about Anthony and his family and the racing program. The Blue Shrimp #1 goes to Jaden Bolin. Small Bone goes to Tony Bolin. LO206 to Matt Winburn. The Huge Bone goes to Sean Ward. The Medium Bone to Kobe Watts. ladies, Melissa Seeley, took them on the outside on the last lap to win the ladies' powder puff down at Triple T. The super big bone goes to Ty Harrelson, and the big bone clone goes to Mr. Chris McCraw from this past weekend down there. So a big shout out to those guys as well. I got a free ticket. Somebody's going to get a free ticket tonight, and I'm going to have 2 free tickets at the sponsorship appreciation night that Kyle's putting on. We'll talk about that here shortly to give away. So if you want to get that free tickets, man, you got to follow us around. Come see Nightmare Motorsports. We'll get you taken care of. On the line for the mud racing, Fast Tracks Mud Bog has rescheduled the Clash of the Carolinas event for June the 16th. It'll be running along with the 1-ton Elite Series on the same day. So they have canceled their race for this weekend because they got guys coming from all over the place for that. Go and look up more at Fast Tracks Mud Bog. Big shout out to Cornerstone Concrete, Weathers Fleet Service, O'Neill Off-Road, Low Country 4x4, Monty Banks Siding, and Carolina Screen Print. Those are some of the guys who are putting it in for the mud racing down around that area. To all the great fans of Dennis Anderson's Muddy Motorsports Park, they have decided to postpone their May event and reschedule it for August 11th for the summer heat. So if you want to get information about that, and that's another great racetrack, man, I tell you what, the Muddy Motorsports Park. Now, Dennis Anderson, that guy's a trip, bud. Right. He's a trip. Trip.
You're struggling tonight.
That food get you that bad today, sir? That's about the second, third time he's jumped.
I don't think you I think the chicken went in there and slapped your tongue around.
Twitty's Mud Bog in Omer, South Carolina, May the 19th. Gates will open at 9 a.m. They're having a sled pull and a mud race. And want to throw out there for Broad River Mud Bog, May 26th in Hickory Grove, South Carolina. More information. You can go on the Broad River Mud Bog and find out the information for that. So, huge thanks to all the guys who send me information. I greatly appreciate you guys. It really helps me out a lot. One thing, I know you guys are tired of hearing my mouth, but we're going to do it out there. We always do a fan's favorite, the weekly winner shout out. And Willie the Wild Child Milliken, that guy has a lot of fans.
Yeah.
A whole lot of fans. Tanya and Michael Jordan, Lawrence Brixley, Rhonda Leviner, Miss Mary Stevens said that their favorite driver put it in the WC, the Wild Child, Willie Milliken, #1, the Budweiser late model. Rhonda Leviner and Melissa Gray sent a big shout out to Wayne Gray Jr., the #88 open wheel Diet Mountain Dew modified at Fayetteville Motor Speedway this past Saturday. Heath Dyerson and Jackie Adams said a big shout out to Grayson Dyerson's first win at Triple T on the Pro Green Plate program. Adam Core sent a shout out to Bladen Clint, Fayetteville Motorsports Park, first career win in their junior dragster. Joey Rhodes sent out a shout out to Brody Rhodes, first career win in Triple T Junior 1. And Tyler Seeley said, big congratulations to Mom, picking up the ladies division at Triple T for the outside pass on the last lap. William Nelson sent in a big shout out to the 604 late model down at 311 Speedway with Mr. Dale Moore picking up that win. And this is something I want you guys to listen to, because we sit around, we talk about racing, and sometimes we don't know that we're reaching out to folks, but we are. We really are. And Mr. Kevin Thomas wrote this in to us. I had an awesome weekend. Took my son, daughter, and her best friend to their first dirt race at Fayetteville. We went Saturday, had an awesome crowd and an awesome show. I hope the World of Outlaws comes back soon. My kids had a blast. My daughter won a t-shirt, and none of us had a favorite driver until after the race was over. As we were walking through the pits afterwards and saw the Nightmare himself, Mr. Jimmy Owens, driving his car back to the trailer, he went over and waited for him to avoid sitting in the traffic on the way out. He saw us standing by the car, and my kids were amazed looking at the car up that close. He came over and talked with us. My kids were over the moon. We took a picture with him, and he shook our hands and had a short but meaningful conversation with us. Our new favorite driver is Jimmy Owens. Thanks to everyone who made it possible. We had a blast. Side note, one of my co-workers and good friends won his first drag race of the weekend, Bladen Clint. So happy for them. Keep up the good work, keeping us in the know with all the racing around here. I don't know about the World of Outlaws show until I seen it on y'all's page. Thanks again. Please mention Bladen's accomplishments on the show on Wednesday. you know, so, and Kevin from Leland, North Carolina. So he would have never known about the show if it wasn't for Shine Runner. So that's awesome, man, that, you know, we're making a footprint out there and, you know, people pay attention to us.
At least more than our wives do anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They don't pay attention to nothing we say.
No doubt. But I've got, don't forget, the Sponsor Appreciation Night coming up. We got that coming up Friday night, man. We're going to be out there at Jersey Mike's Subs. And I'm looking forward to another one of them good subs they got.
Me too, man. Them steak and cheeses are on point.
What all's going on, bud? Tell us about it.
Well, we're going to have some good time out there. We got some good people coming up. We got Old Dirty coming. Daniel Johnson's going to be there. Mr. Action Jackson himself is going to be there. Randy White, the Mod Light. I believe there's going to be are we going to have us?
Yeah.
Okay, Tom's going to be there. We're going to have a good selection of cars out there for people to come and check out, you know, face to face. You know, anybody in Fayetteville, please come by and check out Jersey Mike's on Boone Trail Friday night. There's going to be some games out there for the kids. You know, it's going to be a little beanbag toss. They can toss a beanbag into some tires and win some prizes. It's just going to be a good time. Some good music, good friends, good talking, obviously. We all love talking about racing. That's what we do right now. And absolutely love listening to old racing stories. And, I mean, that kind of stuff is what we're trying to create now. Is new racing stories. So please come out, you know, Jersey Mike's and show your appreciation to the people that actually are involved in taking care of the sport.
Awesome, man. So definitely Friday night, come down, check that out. Want to send a big shout out to Robert McLean with the Shine Outfitters. Robert, he graduated college at the Bladen Community College. Congratulations to him. Fishing to Fight Cancer Tournament down at Deep Creek this weekend. Come on down and check out the Big Fish Sunday morning at the weigh-in. We start weighing in at 7 o'clock that morning. And
there's another good charity going on Saturday morning. If people can make it, it's the Pig Picking for Autism out at the Harley Place.
Oh, okay.
The
Kate
Harley
Beard.
Shop. Yeah, Kate Beard is putting that on. It's one hell of a show. They've got so many people involved with that, so many sponsors. They've allowed us to go out there as well. We're going to have our car set up. Randy, I believe Donovan's going to be out there as well. So there'll be cars set up Saturday morning out at the Harley Place. And absolutely the great food like you wouldn't imagine is going to be out there at Pig Picking. They throw a big thing every year.
Yeah,
so
that's awesome. Really
big
cool.
shout out to the bearded gentleman putting on that Saturday.
Well, we had a guy that definitely wanted to call in. Do you want to do that? You want to open up?
Sure.
You got time?
It's open right now.
Okay, we got the phone lines open up. We
Open
got
it
somebody
up.
definitely
Give us a
wanting to call in. So, Mr. William, right? William Nelson, we're calling you out because I heard that you're scared, and he probably ain't gonna call. He's got a grudge race that he's a little upset. He's probably happy that it's gonna rain, so he can't make it down the fast tracks this weekend. You know, so if anybody knows William Nelson or knows where he's at, please tell him to give us a call so we can
Tag him on Facebook.
He probably could call AJ and get an excuse why he can't race this weekend.
Or he could call Joseph or Crying
I
Ryan over
didn't
here
say
and get an
anything.
excuse for why he didn't win.
Yeah.
You know.
So we're trying to figure out with this, you know, I reckon it's bled into North Carolina. We had all those South Carolina mud truck drivers that were scared to talk. Now we got these North Carolina mud truck drivers that's scared to call in. So we'll see.
So who we got? Hello.
You hear me?
Yep.
This is William Nelson, Seven Outlaw.
I got a guy that wants to talk to you right quick. Come here, Bo. So,
Well, I heard you put up about the fast track, here's some of the children in the class. And it's supposed to be having a drive match going on that same day. A side-by-side on a speed pit on a hand drop. And Mr. Kenny Williams was Trick Addiction. And rumor has it he's running scared and ain't gonna show up 16.
well, from what I heard, you were pretty excited that it was going to rain out, so you didn't have to get down there and get that truck dirty.
Well, I had to, I kind of started over because we actually still crashing in the truck with the motor in it.
We've got a poll going to see who takes their truck off the trailer more, you or Gary Chesney.
I believe I would win that one. I think Gary has officially firmly fixed it to the floor of his shop.
We do know that he has bought parts, and he's coming back, and he's gonna eat you alive, William.
Well, I'll be glad to see him back, to be honest. It's kind of, I hate to say it, I actually miss seeing his ugly ass mug.
Oh man, so tell us a little bit about, I mean, what's the deal for this grudge race? Are you gonna call the man out right here, call him out, let's hear it. Just be careful with the language, because we got kids.
The original deal was that $300 was put up in a trophy to the winner between the two. And so I put back up the call out. Well, since it got postponed, I ended up an additional $500 with a $200 back out. So if he backed out, then we was having to pay up $200. The next thing I still stands. I mean, we're going to do this. We're going to have the truck ready. We got the month to get this truck out in this new motor.
So you mean you got your $200 is what you're saying?
William, I wouldn't take that, man.
Right now, I see myself in $200. So, I mean, he's been running scared all over.
I know all the comments I've seen today between William and Timmy, both of them. I believe Timmy's scared to death because he's crawfishing. He's trying to get William to race him everywhere else. He won't come to fast tracks. I believe he's scared.
So we got a call out there. So you're calling out Timmy Williams. William Anderson's calling out Timmy Williams.
I'm not calling Timmy Williams out.
William Nelson.
William Nelson's calling him out, and he's running scared. He will not answer anything William has put on there to even get him to come to that track, that race.
Daggone.
So I'll tell you what, I ain't even gonna be better. If he's there at 16, $300 is already put up plus additional 5. And if he wants to postpone it to July 21st for Grudge Wars is going on at Third Track, I'll bump it up another $300 on top of the 5.
We had to get some side bets going.
Like an auction. Yeah, what I need is a video from you so we can post on Shine Runners and you calling him out and how much you putting up. Let's get this thing going.
Oh, that's easy. You know I got that.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, we appreciate you calling in here this evening, and definitely get us that video as soon as possible.
I will, bro. I got you.
Okay.
Y'all keep up the good work, bro.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you, sir.
Did he say I love you?
That's what it sounded like.
Did he just tell me he loved me before we got off the
He
phone?
probably did.
Is he getting sentimental about the mud race?
Yeah.
You know, what are we gonna do about it, man? So you're talking. Which one are you talking junk about?
Timmy Williams running from William Nelson.
Oh, so we got to keep that up.
He's egging it on.
Yeah.
That's right. Stir the pot.
That's right.
Right, man.
And then add to the pot as you just done.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I don't have anything else to you.
I don't. You got something, sir?
We do want y'all down there when they have that grudge race.
Yeah,
we would love to have y'all there to do a video.
I have plans of coming this weekend.
I would love to see y'all there so we can point the loser out wide world.
Yeah, we'll do that, man. We'll try to put that on schedule and see if we can get on down there. It'd be fun. You ain't never been to a mud race, and South Carolina, you can always stop down by the Western Sizzle and get a number 9 baked potato. Good stuff. I know all about that. Anyway, without further more ado, do you have anything, brother?
I don't, sir.
Do you guys have anything?
I want to know what this ridiculous new nickname is that you were talking about earlier.
Crying Ryan.
And go ahead and explain.
I don't think there's any explaining needed to be done. I think I've got witnesses. Bagman's here, Rooster's here,
18 now.
Swanee's here. Yeah, I mean, when you
in the show,
and Doo-Doo said you cried the whole way home.
Yeah, we got a call from the other vehicle saying you were crying.
Poor old Doo-Doo, he said, Bo, he had to hear about get out the car.
He said he was gonna jump out the window. I said, well, you're in trouble because there ain't no way you're gonna get out that window.
He thought he was gonna drown in the front seat.
What about some sponsor shout outs? You gonna get some sponsor shout outs?
So I got some floaties for you.
Yeah, we can. I think Brad wants to say something back there.
I just want to let all the Shine Runners people out there just remember one thing: the junkyard dog is coming.
I think he took some legs.
See, he can make it to the racetrack, but you still can't.
Put your helmet on right.
Good thing about it now, Keith, is you can get around that JYD easily.
Yeah, because you go a couple laps, you got to take a break.
Yeah. So I definitely want to send a huge shout out, man, to all of our sponsors who make it possible. Temple Mechanical. Don't forget, they still have that spring deal going on for a spring startup. If you have any air conditioner issues, make sure you get in contact with Temple and let them know you heard it live right here on Shine Runners Racing Radio. Raging Rooster Catering, A1 Portable Tools, A1 Landscaping and Lot Clearing, Bellinger Signs and Graphics, Redline Speed Shop, Fast Track Mudbox, CNM Pressure Washing.
And Captain Rooster Flag.
I always forget that one.
Hey, good job.
So,
a new Red Sox hat for a Shine Runner sweatshirt. Is that a deal?
I think you want. I think Kyle's mom wants your hat.
No, I think my mama wants. She needs a Shine Runners hat or something.
Yeah.
She'll get
Well,
you.
we can get
well, she's
it
right
hooked
up there
up.
in Massachusetts. She get you whatever you want.
See, Jim, she would like to know that actually Magic Man is the actual Red Sox fan. I'm a Red Sox fan. I'm really a Braves fan, but my son plays on the Red Sox, so that's why I've got the Red Sox hat on.
Well, before we get ready to get out of here, we gotta take a video right here of the first and only time we'll ever hold a Martinsville
There you
clock.
go.
Right there.
Cheers.
Take us out, man.